was a little rough. I think Gundy came in what, 04?
Something like that,
Oh, I think I should know that, But no, he came in. It was early stages. But so yeah, it was not the greatest time to be, maybe working for the football team. But man, there were so many great things about it. Not just on the wins and losses side. There was so I got to see Coach Gundy on a daily basis and stuff. And like Coach Glass, if I walked in there right now, Coach Glass, I mean, he knows me, just from those relationships and good players, Justin Blackman, Des Bryant, Zach Robinson, Brandon Whedon, those dudes were all there. And I used to hang out with some of those guys when I was there, and they were just good dudes. But traveling, we got to go to all the games. I was at every single game. We'd take a plane. Sometimes we'd fly out the players. Sometimes we'd go out the day before to those stadiums. Well, we always did, but sometimes, there's 13 managers. You got to go to the stadium the day before, get it ready. So we'd leave on a Thursday night. You may go down to the Strip, that night, and then catch the bus at 2 a.m. or something. But we would travel on the big orange bus, and we would go set everything up. And basically that evening, the players would come in, like on a Friday, they would fly in that evening. We would do a little short practice, and then they would go to the hotel. We would pack everything up. We'd go to the hotel, do whatever. Next day, you got game day. And of course, that's a lot of work too. So, no, that was my life, for several months. But once you're in football season, it's a business, Division I football, and so I learned about the business side of it. And, when you're a manager, all the ins and outs that nobody knows. Like injuries and everything. And so, you kept your mouth shut essentially because you were looking out for your players, you're looking out for your team and stuff. And there was just a lot of inside stuff that normal people don't see. But I also saw all the work that goes into it. Those uniforms and those helmets, those managers do all that. The reason those helmets look so awesome are because of those managers. How everything flows on the field, the structure and the headsets and everything, that's managers. And I had no idea. I was a player growing up in high school, and now that I'm the other side of it, lots of cool things, man. Yeah. I could talk a long time about it.
Do it. We got time. I want to hear about it.
That was kind of the thing. And then being around the players every day.
Yeah.
People would brag, oh yeah, this and that, this dude. I'm like, they're just normal dudes, and those coaching staff, they always treated us really well. And I was assigned to a couple of coaches here and there, and we would set practice up every day. We would run the practice, and then we would, after practice breakdown, we would break it all down, we'd put everything back up, and go back to our normal lives of being a college student again. But it was living the dream. It was the best job. It was a lot of work, but it was the best job that if you were a student and wanted to be involved in something, I didn't have to be a part of a fraternity. That was my niche. That was my group. And I needed those 13 guys and my boss or something and those players. And it was a blast. So all of that fun and the experience and the relationships that I saw within the whole system, from the athletic director to Coach Gundy down to those individual players and coaches, I saw that and I was like, I want to be a part of it. I want to influence you kids' lives. And so high school football was my thing.
Yeah.
And so I did that for 10 years.
What was your favorite stadium you went to on the road?
First game I ever worked was in Georgia. And oh my gosh, I'm going blank right now who the quarterback was. He's the quarterback for the St. Louis Rams right now.
Yes, it's better than mine.
Oh my gosh, Matthew Stafford.
Okay.
Matthew Stafford was there at the time. They crushed us. We still had Bobby Reed as our quarterback at the time. Oh, sorry, Bobby. I like you, man. But anyways, that was really cool to go to the SEC and do that. Now, Georgia's a lot better than they were then. But we played in the Seattle Seahawks Stadium. My second game of the first game of 2008 or 7, we played Washington State there. Nice. That was fun. The bowl games are kind of your the fun thing. We got to play at the San Diego Stadium, the Charger Stadium. We played Oregon, the Ducks there. They beat us. Those are some of the stadiums that kind of come to my attention. And then after I left, the Big 12 kind of changed a little bit right in there. So I didn't get to go to Morgantown and places like that. But it was. Those are pretty cool. I mean, minus all the Big 12 teams or games.
What was Bedlam like? Did you go to Bedlam in Norman?
Yes.
How was that experience?
I do not like Norman.
Same.
I do not like. I rephrase that. I do not like Norman in an orange shirt. Me in an orange shirt.
You working for the enemy, basically.
Yes. And I'm not a huge fan of the Sooners.
Yeah.
And I'm an Okie, right? Born and raised here, whatever. I am through and through orange, but I'm not a huge fan of Sooners. And I really got a good taste of that when I was a manager. You know, you're in it. And then I remember going out, and we would go out with the kickers, and we were shagging balls for them, you know. And this is what set me off is we're in Norman. And I know going into this game, 90% of the time they're going to beat us. Like I just know that they're going to beat us, and I shouldn't say that as a poke
no, but
guy.
it's
But I know
the facts.
it is what it is.
Probability says that you're going to lose.
Yeah, and so if we do win, it's like a surprise to me. You know, I'm happy. So, but traditionally in the past, they've always been better than us. And I know I shouldn't say it, but I'm just trying to be realistic.
Until this year.
Until this year, right? Yeah. Stuff happens, right? You know, my Cowboys are in my heart. But, man, we were out there shagging balls, and these guys, the student section, we're kicking in the OU student section. And this is before they updated the stadium at the time. And the kicker was kicking them, and they would toss them, and you could see the ball. They'd catch it because they didn't have a nets up. They would take the ball and they'd throw it back 10 or 15 yards, throw it back, and eventually they'd throw it over the stadium. And they did it about 4 or 5 times. And my boss, I probably shouldn't say what he did. What we started putting on the footballs, like the next.
Well, it's the statute of limitations is probably gone now. So it's been more than 10 years.
Yeah.
So, I think that's the right phrase for it. You're good.
Yeah, and they would cuss us, flip us off. And I mean, I'm being serious. Like that's where I was like, this sucks. I hate being a Norman. And I guess that's all part of it. You know, there's no telling what players go through on that. You know, the big time players, they get a lot of that stuff. And I'm just a little manager, you know, I'm just running out there doing my job, and they're tormenting me and my buddies. And so that was kind of I was like, anyways, but see, my job was interesting. I guess I didn't note this, but my boss, when I first started, he said, you're going to be on the opposite side. So I was, out of the 2 years that I worked for the team, I was never on our side. I was always on the opposing side as a ball boy. There were 3 of us. And I don't know how it happened, but I got placed like in the middle. So I was always next to, you know, Mac Brown or something like that, those guys at the time, which was pretty cool experience, to be honest with you, because I'd be with these guys for months, you know, every day of the week, and on game day, I got to be on the other side. And now I saw, like, I use Mac Brown as an example, because that guy, he was so respectable and so respectful. He would come over and he would shake our hands before the game started. I mean, like, that was pretty cool. Like, I'm just a, you know, nobody. And he, you know, would be really nice to us. So that was a neat experience. And I'm at Georgia. First game, I'm nervous, right? You're out there in front of a huge stadium trying not to drop a punt or something. Yeah, so I'm on the sideline at Georgia. It's our first game. I mean, the stadium, I want to say there's 90,000 there, maybe. And I'm just hanging out on the Georgia sideline doing my thing, and I turn and look, and there's the Outcast. You know, they're hanging out, and of course, they're funny outfits and stuff, but it's just like, I was like, this is going to be a fun job at that point, you know? Yeah. And so, anyways.
Was Andre 3000?
Yes, Andre, 3000. Yeah. Sorry, thank you. It's been a minute. I hadn't listened to him in a while. But anyways, it was like, this is pretty fun. We were getting beat, which, you know, but in my experience, I was like, this is fun. Nebraska was a cool place. that was the year we went up there. I'm going bouncing around here, but Nebraska, we went there and we beat them. And it was the first time we beat them since like, since like the 40s. Oklahoma State had beat Nebraska in Lincoln.
That's huge.
It was a long time. And I remember the coach there was not doing very good. Maybe Coach Callahan at the time. They were cheering us on after we beat them, walking back into the stadium or into the locker room. And I was like, oh my gosh, these are the best fans ever. Like because it had been that long, it's a huge accomplishment for Oklahoma State to go into Lincoln and do that. And my wife is a Husker now, so I always tell, that story. And anyways, no, I love Nebraska.
Yeah.
But that was a good experience too, so.
A lot of cool locker room stories from the guys winning whenever the games did come that you're winning, and you're right in the mix of it, right? Like, you got the best job and the best seat in the house, and you don't have to play.
Well, I'll tell you a secret here. Do you remember when Coach Gundy had his blow up on I'm a Man, I'm 40?
Yeah.
Me and my buddies were in the locker room at Oklahoma State. I forgot what team it was. The way that was structured, he did his interview and he had to come through the locker room to go back to the office or whatever. And all the players are gone. He's the last one. And we're in there picking up game cleats. And he comes through there and he goes, boys, don't watch the news tonight. That was the first thing he said to us. And, he didn't talk to us a whole lot. And he said that, and we were all like, kind of looked around each other like, what? And, sure enough, that became like one of the biggest memes ever.
Iconic moment in Oklahoma State history.
Yeah, and I love it or whatever. But I remember that specific time, him walking through there, and we didn't know what that would turn out to be or anything. So
yeah.
But no, lots of good locker room memories and stuff, and lots of good players. Ex-players that would come through. I mean, Barry Sanders would come through there, on homecoming, Thurman Thomas, those guys. And of course, celebrities every now and then. But, man, I had the best job ever. And I had really good bosses. I had really good, it was just everybody in that business was really good. And they all cared for the team in orange. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, I was very lucky.